You are wearing something right now. You put it on this morning without thinking. Maybe you chose it for warmth. Maybe for the way it looks. Maybe just because it was close. You have been doing this your entire life. Every human alive does it. And almost none of them know why. Not the real reason. The story you were told is simple. Humans got cold, humans found fur, humans wore it. But that answer collapses the moment you look at the evidence, because the oldest known clothing fibers push back roughly 120,000 years. And for most of that time, the humans wearing them were not cold. They were in Africa. The sun was blazing. The temperature was fine. And yet, something made them reach for a covering anyway. What was it? To understand what clothing actually is, you have to forget what you think it is. It is not insulation. It is not fashion. It is not modesty in any modern sense. Clothing, at its deepest root, is a technology of social signaling. And it started not with the body, but with the mind. Here is what happened. Around 300,000 years ago, your ancestors began doing something no other animal had done before. They started reading each other. Not just watching, not just following, but actively decoding the internal states of other members of their group. Evolutionary anthropologist Robin Dunbar spent decades mapping this capacity. He found that as human social groups grew larger, the neocortex grew with them. Your brain rewired itself around one central task, figuring out what other people were thinking, feeling, intending, and planning. This is the skill now called theory of mind, and it changed everything. When you can model another person's inner world, their appearance becomes information. The state of their body tells you something, whether they are sick or healthy, whether they are high status or low, whether they are in mourning or in celebration, whether they are dangerous or safe. The body stopped being just a body. It became a text that every member of the group was constantly reading. Now the body had to manage what it communicated. Archaeologist Ian Gilligan, who spent years reconstructing early textile and hide evidence, argues that the shift toward body covering was not driven primarily by temperature at all. It was driven by the expanding social complexity of human groups. As groups grew from small roaming bands into larger interconnected networks, the signals your body sent became higher stakes. Who you were, where you stood, what you belonged to, all of it had to be legible at a distance. Clothing was the first intentional broadcast. Think about what that means. The first thing your ancestors covered was not the parts of the body most exposed to cold. The archaeological and ethnographic record shows that early body decoration and covering often started with the genital region, the chest, and the face. These are precisely the areas that carry the most socially loaded biological signals: reproductive status, arousal, dominance, submission. Clothing did not hide the body from the elements first. It managed what the body was advertising. This is a strange idea, but your body already knows it is true. Consider why you feel naked. Not cold, naked. When you are in a crowd without clothes, the sensation is not primarily one of temperature. It is one of exposure, of vulnerability, of being read without choosing what is communicated. That feeling is ancient. It is your nervous system running software your ancestors wrote over tens of thousands of years of social negotiation. You are not afraid of the wind. You are afraid of being fully legible to a group you have not yet figured out. Psychologist Paul Rozin at the University of Pennsylvania studied disgust across cultures and found that the discomfort with bodily exposure is not simply learned from culture to culture. There is a deep cross-cultural consistency to the shame response tied to the body. It persists even when the practical need for covering disappears entirely. This is not a coincidence. It is a vestige of the social pressure that created clothing in the first place. But there is a twist. If clothing began as social signal management, it very quickly became something far more complex. It became identity construction, not just what you were communicating to others, but what you were communicating to yourself. Anthropologist Alfred Gell wrote that ornamentation and body modification are among the oldest forms of self-making. The decorated body is not a body that has been covered. It is a body that has been authored. When your ancestors began wearing pigment-stained hides and shells threaded on fiber, they were not just sending signals outward. They were assembling a self. That is still what you do when you get dressed in front of a mirror, or you reach into a drawer, and you make choices about who today's version of you will be. Whether you think about it or not, you are editing your signal. You are deciding what you are broadcasting. You are, in the most literal evolutionary sense, doing exactly what your ancestors did 100,000 years ago. The medium has changed. The impulse has not. Now, here is where it gets stranger. The introduction of clothing changed human biology itself. Once the body was regularly covered, the intense selection pressure that had kept human body hair at certain densities began to shift. Researchers at the Max Planck Institute, studying the genetics of ectoparasites, specifically body lice, found that body lice diverged genetically from head lice approximately 170,000 years ago. Body lice require clothing to survive. They live in fibers, not on skin. Their very existence is evidence of a clothed human. And the timing of their divergence gives us one of the best biological timestamps for when clothing became habitual. Not occasional, not decorative, habitual. Once clothing was habitual, the human body began to lose the insulation it no longer needed to maintain. Less body hair, more reliance on external covering. The technology had become biological. Your relative hairlessness is not an ancient feature of your species. It is, in part, the downstream consequence of a decision your ancestors made to manage their social signals with fiber and hide. You shed your own covering because your ancestors invented one they could control. There is one more layer. When your ancestors wore something for the first time, they were also doing something no other species does. They were separating the self from the body. The body became, for the first time, a canvas, a site of expression rather than just a biological fact. And that separation, that gap between the raw animal body and the dressed social person, is where human identity was born. Every culture that has ever existed has had clothing or body ornamentation of some kind, not because every culture was cold, but because every culture was human. And being human means needing to author the signal your body sends. This is the hidden reason, not warmth, not modesty, not even beauty, but the primal, urgent, deeply wired need to control what you communicate to the people around you. The need to say, before you speak a single word, I know you are reading me, and I have chosen what you will find. Tonight, you will probably lay out something to wear tomorrow. You will make a small unconscious calculation about what it signals. You will reach for something that fits the day, the meeting, the person you intend to be. You will do it without thinking. And in that moment, without knowing it, you will be doing something that has made your species what it is. Something that started not with a cold wind, but with the strange and world-altering realization that other minds were watching, and that what they saw could be shaped. You are wearing something right now. Now you know why.